After years of searching, you finally unearthed a long, lost, and buried crypt covered in warnings of maddening knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. Unfortunately, knowledge beyond mortal comprehension was a much lower bar 5,000 years ago. The man widened his eyes after seeing what lies beyond stone gates. It was an archive with many stone tablets. "I wonder what kind of knowledge is recorded here," he said, as he glanced at the now familiar sight of the warning regarding the incomprehensibility of the knowledge in place. It took hours upon hours of slowly reading the recorded texts from each of the stone tablets, translating them manually and with the help of AI. But he had finally begun to form an understanding of what the knowledge in this place was. "Everyone from my time would have gone mad by now." The man was startled by the voice and turned to the direction it came from. He found a man with a transparent body. "A ghost!" The man jumped off from his seat, startled and afraid. "Ah, now that's a more apt reaction," the ghost chuckled. "Who wouldn't be afraid if you suddenly sneak up on someone like that? You're taking this better than I thought." "Oh, I'm definitely afraid, but I'm also excited," the man said. "Your presence confirms that what I've been reading so far is real, assuming I'm not hallucinating from fatigue. Pray tell, what does the outside world look like today?" The man started explaining about the advancements in technology, with humanity gaining the ability to fly using metal contraptions called planes and access to a lot of knowledge using a smartphone, to name a few. "Ah, that's perfect. It seems they are now ready for this knowledge. Are you sure it will go well?" The man is a bit skeptical. "This knowledge you've guarded all this time is now seen as nothing but fiction." "Ah, but that would mean that humanity now has an understanding of the concept," the ghost replied. "All that they need now is knowing how to properly use said understanding." "Sounds fun. Count me in." The man smiled. Even if he was a little disappointed that the knowledge in this place wasn't quite beyond human comprehension, he was still excited. After all, he just found out that magic is real. After years of searching, you finally unearthed a long, lost, and buried crypt covered in warnings of maddening knowledge beyond mortal comprehension. Unfortunately, knowledge beyond mortal comprehension was a much lower bar 5,000 years ago. He pulled away the branches and pushed aside the large boulder covering the two large stone doors. The cloud of sand and dust made Dr. Sparrow cough, and his eyes started tearing up. It had taken him decades to discover the tomb of the broken god. Countless hours reading old dusty books, one with a wilder and more unbelievable story than the other. All as untrustworthy as the word of a thief. Yet he had persevered and finally found it. He let his hand glide over the inscriptions carved into the stone. He recognized it as Enochian. Most of it was gibberish, akin to such and such was here. People never change. In the middle was a more ornamental scripture written. This was the important part. "Beware of the knowledge that lies inside, for the knowledge will break your mind." Not the most welcoming message, but the knowledge would be worth it. With every ounce of strength he could pull from his tired muscles and weary bones, he pushed aside one of the large stones, opening up the cavern inside. It was a round cave, with canals carved into the bedrock that led to the large stone slate in the middle of the space. 3 large holes in the ceiling provided light. Ancient trees had grown their roots through the holes as well, and as Dr. Sparrow carefully stepped inside, dirt crumbled down. As soon as he had reached the middle, the stone doors of the tomb closed with a sharp sound of grinding stone. Wind blew the rotten leaves off the ground, and an ominous howling filled the chamber. Not letting himself be distracted, the doctor grabbed hold of the stone slate, carved with an unknown language, probably even older than the Enochian scripture on the doors. Dr. Sparrow knew that obtaining the knowledge meant a sacrifice was needed. He grabbed the knife from his belt and drew it through the flesh of his palm. Immediately blood started welling and soon dripped down from his hand on the stone. The throbbing pain of his hand subsides as suddenly he felt a presence with him in the tomb, something ancient that awakened a deep fear within his mind. "The sacrifice is accepted," said a deep, disembodied voice. The doctor could feel his mind opening up. It felt like he could feel every synapse in his brain firing, as if he could follow every electrical signal traveling through his brain. The pressure building up inside his skull kept building, and for a moment he thought that it might be too much, that his mind would snap and he'd go mad as forewarned, until he found a connection, something he understood to be true and could link to something else. He wasn't sure how he did it, but he was able to do it again and again. He understood this knowledge. "Curious," said the disembodied voice. "You're not breaking." Dr. Sparrow's awareness returned to his surroundings for a moment, the cold wind on his skin and the throbbing pain in his hand. That's when a realization dawned on him. "You're the first mortal to achieve this, yet you seem disappointed," said the voice. A tear started rolling down the face of the doctor. He had done it, and he hadn't gone mad. He knew why he hadn't. The knowledge was old, and in a way more than he could ever have achieved on his own through his studies. Yet it didn't tell him anything new. "Tell me, mortal, why are you not elated?" said the voice. His voice trembled as he muttered, "This knowledge was our last hope, yet there is nothing in it that we didn't already know." He dropped to his knees. "We're doomed,"